Dr. Maplango, welcome to this discussion once more.
Thank you very much.
One of the issues that I would like you to address from your perspective as a consultant urologist is to look into the issue of erectile dysfunction. How big is the problem? And what is it?
To start with the definition of erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction is one of the sexual abnormalities, sexual dysfunction in males. So sexual dysfunction in males are different. One, which is erectile dysfunction, is where a male is unable to do two things. One, to achieve an erection, and two, to sustain it. For sexual pleasure, two things are required. An individual needs to achieve an erection, and two, they need to sustain it long enough for sexual pleasure. So when an individual is not able to sustain and achieve an erection adequate for sexual function, it is referred to as erectile dysfunction. So by erectile dysfunction, we are talking about the inability of an individual to achieve and sustain an erection long enough for sexual satisfaction. I'm emphasizing long enough for sexual satisfaction because couples are different, and therefore it becomes a dysfunction when it brings problems to a couple. The other problem to do with sexual function is where a man is coming too early. That is what is called the premature ejaculation. The other problem is where a man is not reaching orgasm. And the other problem is where a man has got no sexual desire. Man has got no libido. So libido, in medical terms, refers to desire to have sex. So erectile dysfunction purely is an inability of an individual not to achieve and sustain an erection adequate for sexual satisfaction.
What are the causes?
Erectile dysfunction is basically grouped into two. We group them into two. There could be causes that are medical. Someone has got a medical problem within the body. Or there could be causes that has to do with the psychological. Those causes that has to do with psychological are the category for those who are psychiatrists, clinical psychiatrists. But as a urologist, I concentrate on erectile dysfunction that is caused by medical causes. Now, to understand first of all an erection, to understand the causes, we need to understand how an erection is achieved. For someone to achieve an erection, blood has to flow into the penis. So the function is that one, blood has to flow into the penis, and blood has to stay there long enough so that the penis is erect. When blood flows into the penis is erect, stands, and it can penetrate. But this blood has to stay long enough for penetration to take place and sexual function to take place. Once someone has achieved sexual function, blood has to flow back. So the erection has to come down. So the normal physiology is that blood needs to flow, but at some point it has to come down. It should not stay there for a long time. So anything that prevents blood to flow to the penis can cause erectile dysfunction. Among the diseases that can cause erectile dysfunction are one, diseases to do with hypertension. So hypertension itself can cause erectile dysfunction. High level of fat, there's a fat which is called cholesterol, especially the bad fat. The bad fat is what is called low dense lipoprotein, low dense cholesterol. This fat doesn't dissolve in blood. So what it does is that it reduces the lumen of the tube that brings blood to the penis, and therefore this blood goes to the penis, and one can have erectile dysfunction. Also, when there's damage to the nerves, anything that causes damage to the nerve can cause erectile dysfunction. Among the diseases that causes damage to the nerves include diabetes. So diabetes, essentially what it does damage to the nerves which are in the penis. And the first presentation of diabetes could just be erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction can also be caused by low hormone levels. The ability of a man to sustain an erection is a function of a male hormone called testosterone. Most of the testosterone is produced by the testes. Very little is produced by the glands which is on top of the kidney, which we call the adrenal gland. Most of the hormone is produced by the testes. So when someone for any other reason has got low testosterone, among the things that it manifests is that they have a weak erection. Erectile dysfunction can also be caused by side effect of certain medications. So one has got a disease which is being treated by certain medication, and those medications can be the side effect and causing erectile dysfunction. So in a nutshell, erectile dysfunction can be caused by medical causes, psychological causes. Medical causes can either be diseases or can be side effects of drugs.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, how can someone know, or how can someone seek help? You see, men, generally speaking, even from my own practice, we have very bad health-seeking behavior. I don't know whether it's because we are too scared to. Where can I go if I'm a man and I have this problem?
So, if a man has got erectile dysfunction, and a man is not able to achieve an erection, or not able to sustain it, or one has got both, not achieving and not able to sustain it, what we recommend is that they go to the nearest health institution. The nearest health institution in Zambia, there is a channel on how someone is referred to the specialist. The important thing is that to seek help at a facility that is registered to practice as such, and they are referred to an appropriate facility that is able to offer those services. Mm-hmm. This is where we discourage people to go and get medicine off the counter. Like I said, erectile dysfunction, in most of the cases, is a manifestation of some other diseases. So when you treat those other diseases, the erectile dysfunction can resolve. Sometimes those other diseases could be more dangerous than erectile dysfunction. That's why we insist that when someone seeks health care at health facility, they will be able to pick up those diseases, and once they are treated, the erectile dysfunction can resolve. When it looks complicated, they are referred to a specialist who is a urologist who are distributed everywhere across the country, and they will be able to find out what has caused it. The important thing is that to find out what has caused the erectile dysfunction before you treat it, because you can be masking or hiding a disease that is more dangerous than erectile dysfunction.
Age. Is there a specific age of onset, or it affects?
Erectile dysfunction, unlike prostate cancer, is a disease that can start as early as 20 years. Mm-hmm. Depending on the cause. If something is caused by stress, if someone has got stress event as early as 20 years, they can still have erectile dysfunction. So erectile dysfunction is a disease that can affect someone who's sexually active regardless of the age. So it can start as early as 20, can be as late as 90 years.
Mm-hmm. I've also seen that people like to use herbs and other roots and other concoctions when they have this problem. What would you say about that?
Like I said, erectile dysfunction most of the time is a manifestation of a disease in an individual. Mm-hmm. And therefore the approach to treating it is to find out what has caused the erectile dysfunction, which will be more dangerous than erectile dysfunction, and treat it. Then the erectile dysfunction can resolve it. Mm-hmm. Two, I did earlier on say that for someone to achieve an erection, blood has to flow to the penis. Mm-hmm. And when sexual satisfaction has been reached, blood has to flow back to the penis. Right. So it's a physiological process. Right. Unfortunately, some herbal medication do not follow this natural rule that an erection needs to be achieved. At some point, an erection needs to die away. Mm-hmm. Quite all right, they may achieve an erection, but they may not make an erection die away. Mm-hmm. And when an erection doesn't die away after a certain period of time, it can cause permanent damage to the penis, and one will not have an erection in the rest of their life. When an erection is sustained, like I said earlier on, for someone to achieve an erection, blood flows into the penis, and blood is trapped into the penis. And in that period of time, less blood goes to the penis because blood has been trapped. So the penis, in a layman, it means that it suffers of oxygen because there's no blood that is going there. There's how long the penis can be without blood. So if an erection persists more than that time, the penis can die of hunger of oxygen, and it can suffocate. And when it suffocates, the tissues of the penis can die completely and may not be able to function. Mm-hmm. And that's why we insist that some of the herbal medication, potent they can be, but the safety is not proven. Remember, the safety has to do with the dosing. The dosing is dependent on how to achieve its function. For every drug, two things are cardinal. One, it has to be safe. Two, it has to be efficacious. So it shouldn't be effective only, but it should be safe. And our goal in the medical practice is that when we're giving a drug to an individual, our priority is that first of all, it has to be safe, and two, it has to be effective. There's no point in giving a drug that is effective but it's not safe. It may make someone achieve an erection for 4 hours. After that, he will never achieve an erection for the rest of their life. And by the time they come to seek medical help, is where we say the erection is completely gone and there's nothing that we can do. Remember, every drug that is brought on the market goes through tests, and it has to be registered that it is safe. That's why the herbal medication, unfortunately, some of them, they may be effective, but the safety has not been proven. And that's why a medical practitioner will be very reluctant to prescribe herbal medication, because it is his responsibility to make sure that whatever the patient are getting is something not only effective, but is not safe. So when someone has a persistent erection, in medicine is a problem. It is what is called priapism. Don't worry about the complicated term. So priapism is where one has got a persistent, penile, painful erection, and that is a danger. The danger is that when the erection is persistent, it may kill the tissues of the penis, and one may not have an erection for the rest of their life. And remember, an erection is something that one needs to have as long as they live. It's not one to have it once for all.
Dr. Maplanga, thank you very much for agreeing to appear on this platform.